ready
There we
to
go.
go out.
Okay. I sent the tweet.
Okay. We don't have any viewers yet because we need to.
Like, give them time.
Yes.
This was like the perfect length when I was looking on my photo booth, and now you can see like the edges of my apartment, and it's like super windy because of my fan, and I'm like very disappointed.
You're like, no, this is gonna be the perfect backdrop.
Yeah. Like it's huge. It's almost bigger than me when I lay down. So it should be pretty good. And yet here we are with edges. So
The camera covers a lot more than I thought. I was like just cleaning up the area around myself, and now I'm like, uh-oh. The dust over here.
it's okay. It happens.
Oh, okay. So we are live, and we are Books Are My Fandom, and today is our second BAMFs Aloud. So today is special because last time we were just sort of messing about. Today we actually have a real live author. So Alexis here is the author of Love and Other Theories and What's Broken Between Us. And I finished reading that and it hurt my feelings. Cry. So I'm Dani and I'm from the UK, and I feel like I should say cheerio as well because that's what Henry would say.
I'm Jamie. I'm from Canada. I'm the other half of Dani's life, I guess. I don't know how else to say it. So.
Okay, and we are joined by...
Oh, I'm Alexis Bass.
And Alexis is here to talk about her books, talk about writing, being an author. So, yeah, welcome, Alexis. And I was hoping we could start off with you introducing yourself and introducing your books. So, over to you.
Sure. So I'm Alexis. I have been writing since I was very little. My best friend was my first writing partner, and she lived right across the street. And she would come over, and we would like write and illustrate our own picture books, and then staple them together and sell them to our parents. And they were always sellers. And then I started writing in middle school. I also found a friend who loved to write, and we wrote what I guess, we didn't call it this at the time, but I guess it would technically be Jurassic Park fan fiction, because this was right after the second movie came out, and so we were writing Jurassic Park 3, The Final Encounter. And I will say, though, that we saw, what was this last one called? Jurassic Park?
Jurassic World.
Jurassic World, yes. We had several similarities with our story with Jurassic World. Like we had the invented dinosaur that was like species combined, and we had one come out of the water, and we also, it was set in a theme park, and there was like a train that ran through it, which they had really cool pods. We did not think of those, but and then in high school I was too busy to write, being very dramatic and had lots going on. And then I really started to seriously write, I think, a little in college. I would dabble with those fun projects that I didn't really think about showing anyone, just kind of like playing around. I majored in marketing to be very practical, but took a lot of different classes, so I was still exploring the arts. And then, yeah, I started really taking writing seriously and like giving up parts of my life for it, coming home early and doing it like early in the morning and on my lunch break. And yeah, and I still write just whenever I have the chance. I'm in Northern California.
Okay.
I have an adorable dog, which he just left, but you guys got to meet him. So.
We did. He was very adorable.
He was cute, and I'm jealous.
Yeah. His name's Dylan, after Dylan McKay from 90210.
Oh.
My fiance would say that he's named after Bob Dylan, but that's not accurate.
Okay. So you still work full-time and write?
I work part-time now,
Part-time.
and
Okay.
I write. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
So it supplements well.
okay. And your work, they all know you're an author and they're supportive of it?
They do, and it's really neat. So my boss is a musician. So he like totally understands like the arts and having, you know, something else you're passionate about. And yeah, it's really neat to be in like that kind of a work environment. Feel very lucky.
Okay. And you've got the 2 books. So do you want to give us a quick summary of them?
Sure. My debut was Love and Other Theories, and it's about these girls in high school that have developed these theories about dating that pretty much revolve around the Marilyn Monroe quote, "A wise girl kisses but doesn't," or "A wise girl kisses but doesn't love, listens but doesn't believe, and leaves before she is left." And then the second semester of their senior year, there's a transfer student who becomes interested in one of the girls, and it sort of really puts the theories to a test. And then What's Broken Between Us is about, the main character's name is Amanda, and it's about her wading through the aftermath of a drunk driving accident that killed one of her classmates and permanently injured another student, and it was caused by her brother. And it's made a little bit harder for her to get through this because her brother goes on kind of a Dateline type show and gives a pretty horrific interview where he's just not appearing how you would think someone who caused something so horrible would appear. And the book picks up when he's getting out of jail and when Amanda is paired up with Henry, who is a boy that she was with the night of the accident. It just makes things all the more difficult. And she's forced to kind of examine that night and how it's changed the way that she lives her life now to help her kind of move on.
Yeah. And it hurts.
Yeah, we were both.
It's good, but it hurts.
Yeah, we were both very like upset, and we were like, we like this so much, but we're so upset right now. So there's, it was a weird conversation this morning, to be honest. So just so you guys know that are watching, Dani and I are going to be reviewing What's Broken Between Us on Books Are My Fandom on September 19th, and you'll be able to view this video again. And we're going to include a transcript in case, you know, you need to read it instead of watch for whatever reason. So for the rest of this video, we're going to start off by asking Alexis some questions, and then we're going to open the floor to you guys so that you can ask questions, and you can start doing that under the hashtag BAMFs Aloud. So you can ask questions, like we're going to be asking questions, but you can ask questions relating to either the novels if you've read them or just life as an author in general, whatever floats your boat sort of thing.
Okay. So our first official question is about writing. So this was your second book, and we wanted to know, what did you learn from writing Love and Other Theories that's changed how you approached What's Broken Between Us, your second book?
Yeah, let's see. Probably one thing that I learned a lot with and got to play a lot with when I was writing both books is making characters sympathetic. And, you know, therefore making them more human, because they're kind of, I have some pretty harsh characters. And Love and Other Theories, the 4 best friends are sometimes a little mean because they kind of harshly judge others who don't abide by the theories. And they harshly judge boys, and they are just, they kind of think that the way that they do it is the correct way. And then Shelby is the ringleader, and she's very good at making people feel bad if they think differently of her, and she's good at like building herself up by putting others down. But she's the main character's best friend, and so I wanted people to know, like, why would you be best friends with this person? And so I really had to give her layers that people could relate to, so she was more than just that girl in high school. And then Jonathan in What's Broken Between Us is a pretty harsh character as well. When you first meet him, he's giving this terrible interview, and you know what he's done, and you're kind of waiting for him to apologize, or you just kind of want more than he's giving. And Amanda is like still very defensive of him, and he's her brother, and I also wanted to show like the reason that she cares so much other than just like what people think, and why she's so concerned with trying to help him, but then also wants to just keep her fun brother-sister relationship with him. And so I had to show people that existed at one time. So that was something. The way that I had to write Shelby really influenced the way that I wrote Jonathan. I think also different ways to create tension was something that changed in both books, because they're contemporary, and so there's not a ton of like action. There's one punch thrown and what's broken between us, and I'm like, oh, that's my big action scene. So it was kind of like trying to find a great balance between isolating the moment and building on it, since so much is dependent on interactions, and also like reacting to something that's happened that's maybe subtle. So those were things that I really took from Love and Other Theories and used when I was writing What's Broken Between Us.
Well, I can say there was definitely a lot of tension, especially between Henry and Amanda. And also like the way you incorporated the going back and forth between now and before the accident, so getting to know Grace and stuff, I feel like that really did build, again, because it made you feel more for the accident and more for the characters. I really felt like it built up to that final thing in the auditorium where you're just like, why did you say that?
Oh, that scene. Oh, thank you.
So yeah, so are you currently working on something?
I like to juggle through like with a lot of different projects. Usually I'm always drafting something, because drafting is my favorite. I'm a pantser, I think is the term, versus like outlining and plotting. I just like to kind of have a vague idea in my head and then go with it. And usually I'll surprise myself a little. I tried to plot a book like very specifically, and then when I got down to write it, it was like those were already in my head, so those were not surprises. So I would like try to twist away from that. Just kind of, it was like a natural reaction. So I'm always drafting something. What I'm working on right now is a book. I don't know if it will be sold as YA or adult, but it's about a group of boys that stage a kidnapping and it goes wrong. Imagine that. That's all I'll really say about it for now. I just finished revising and editing a YA that deals a lot with fate. And that's all I can say about that one right now.
Do you feel like you took anything from the writing your first book that applied to those?
Ooh, what was that? It cut out a little.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I was just wondering, so did you take those lessons that you learned from building the tension and so on and apply those to your current work in progress drafts?
Yeah, I would say for sure. Yeah. This book has a little bit more action, so that was fun. But my favorite part is still the like part after the action, when everyone is like looking at each other like, what just happened? And they have to deal with the action. That's always my favorite.
Okay.
So our next question deals with like, what was the hardest scene to write in What's Broken Between Us? Because I found that the hardest scene for me to read was when Amanda was in the school and her brother comes up and starts speaking, and it was just, whoa. That was like one of the hardest moments for me to get through. So what was the hardest scene for you to write?
You know, it's so funny. That scene came easily. It like wasn't there until like some of the very last revisions, and then it just happened, it just came. But I know that's the one that's the hardest for people to read. I know that's kind of like the the last like slice. Probably the hardest was when Amanda confronts Jonathan, which she tries to confront him a lot throughout the book, but it's after he, how to describe it without getting too spoilery, after a lot has happened and he's been punched. How about that? After he's been punched, and Amanda kind of comes to a heads with her mother about her mother's own denial, and then she just asks Jonathan, she wants to know exactly what happened and why he went on the interview and why he said those things. And she's concerned that he's going to come speak at her school, and what will he say then? That one was hard to write because I wanted him to finally open up, but it wasn't really in his character to want to open up about that. So it was sort of a weird line to keep him closed off, but like let him tell her enough so that she has something that she can kind of take with her. And I mean, I don't know if it would be enough for me if I were her, but it was, it was what she needed in that moment. And but I didn't want to lose any of, because he was sticking to what he was doing, and that was what he was going to do. That's how he decided he was going to cope with what happened. So I couldn't let him, just give that up so easily. But I wanted him to be more understood by the audience and by her.
I think I did understand her, but he was, or him, I understood what he was doing. Mm-hmm. That didn't make me feel so crazy. The thing is, I could actually see my own brother. So my brother hasn't exactly like gone to prison or something, and he's technically my younger brother. But I remember when he went through his teenage phase where he would just be so callous, and he would always say no just because he could. And he was always like, whatever. Oh, I'm like, no, care about something, please. And so I saw that I saw my brother in those scenes as well. So I really thought that Jonathan was really realistic in that way.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I definitely agree. I thought like a lot of their interactions where he was really closed off and she was trying to get him to open up were really realistic. Like, it's something that even I would do if I didn't want somebody to know something. I would give them the bare minimum or make it like a sarcastic remark so that they wouldn't take me so seriously, sort of thing. So I think, you really had that nailed down in that aspect.
Yeah.
I think we all have those people in our lives, brothers or not, where you're kind of like wanting something from them, an explanation for something, and just they're like pros at being closed off and have their reasons, and they do it that way. So I know I get a lot of fan or letters that are like not necessarily about brother and sister, but they're like, oh, this person, let me vent to you. I'm like, I totally get it.
So what makes Jonathan and Amanda's sibling relationship so special? And did you base their characters and their relationship on anyone you know? I mean, do you have a sibling?
No, it's funny. I'm an only child. So I'm really close with my cousin who's 2 years younger than me. And we spent a lot of time together growing up. But I think I kind of observed a lot of my friends had brothers. And I think that it was like a lifelong, like when you're a writer, you're always like spying on people. And so I think it was like just lifelong spying stuff, like information that I gathered to, be able to create this dynamic. And I think what made their relationship so special and kind of unique to the situation, where she didn't necessarily want to write him off entirely, was that they didn't, well, for one, Amanda really admires him. Before the accident, he was like outgoing, and, socializing came easy to her and to him, and she was kind of the introvert that was included because of him. And he really admired her too, because she's, he's friends with everyone, and she's very discriminate about who she's friends with. She like really wants to get to know someone and trust someone. She has like her one good friend, and things that happened with Henry took a long time, and so he really kind of liked that about her, because he was like, she's so thoughtful. And so they had these things that they really admired about each other. And then another thing that made the relationship kind of unique and close is they had kind of an us versus them thing going with their parents, where they felt really not understood by their parents. And so they kind of had each other in that field. Their mother, who is kind of concerned with what people think and like very concerned with everything being perfect. And they call her Mumsy to kind of, make fun of her. So they, they don't relate to her on that level. And then the dad is kind of, they call him standard dad, as you guys read, because he's so typical. They're like, he's pulling phrases from his manual of how to be a dad. And they just could never connect with him. So they had these parents, it's almost like they were just living with these people. So they really had to depend on each other. And there's one scene where they talk about Christmas time and how that's like a really hard time for them because their parents are especially putting pressure on them and especially ridiculous. And Jonathan missed Christmas because he was in jail, and he's like, I'm sorry I missed that. And that kind of was an example of how they would rely on each other and just in their own house.
Yeah, so my brother lives in South Africa, where my family is.
Yeah.
So it is a bit difficult, like at Christmas time when he's there with my family and I'm over here, and I feel bad because I'm leaving him with my family. But at the same time, I also feel left out. So like I could relate, like me and my brother are really close. We were always, for us, it was like us against my mom. My dad was always on business trips and so on. So I was like, oh, mom's doing that thing. Also, confession, I call my mom Mumsy Wumsy, but that's when I'm trying to get something from her.
And now she knows.
Oh, she knows. She's like, what?
Okay, so we do have a couple audience questions. So we're going to open up to everybody as well. Like, so if you have a question of something that we talked about even, you can start using the hashtag BAMFs Aloud. So Alice from Alice's Book Vault wants to know, what is your go-to genre when you pick up a book to read?
It's contemporary, I think. YA contemporary. I do love the other genres though. Like I've gotten really into some fantasy, and I love thrillers. But yeah, my go-to, I kind of just am like, what's going on in YA contemporary? What will make me cry? Or what will be a good palate cleanser for after you cry and you need something just so fun?
Yeah, what I need. Do you have any recommendations for something that I can now just be happy with?
Oh my gosh, my friend and I used to have a whole list. I'm trying to think of what was on it now. We called them palate cleanser books. And I'm trying to think. I sort of think Anna and the French Kiss was on it.
I have the book and I haven't read it yet. So
we can read it together. I haven't read it yet either, but it's here with me at school. So we could definitely do that.
Yeah, because there's still lots of emotions in that, but it's like, I don't know. It's
ever after,
maybe? Your heart. Yeah.
Oh, I need that. I need happy. Not
okay.
Oh no.
Alice also wants to know if you write into a soundtrack or in silence.
I usually have music. Sometimes I will create a special soundtrack that is like just fits the mood to me and like does what, I don't know, or like what the characters would listen to. Which is funny. Sometimes my fiance will be like, that's an interesting song. And I'll be like, yes, my character's favorite song. And then when I'm editing, I listen to, and I'm going to butcher his name because I don't have an Italian accent, but it's Ludovico Einaudi. He's a pianist.
Okay.
I love his music. It's like I don't know. It's just so good, and I've seen him in concert twice. That's how big of a fan I am. Yeah, it's just soothing, and it's good to concentrate to. If you're unfamiliar, any of the Olympics or the commercials that come on around the time of the Olympics that are about the moms, his music is always in the background.
Oh, okay.
So you probably heard him.
The ones that are like, "We love you, mom," and I'm like, "It's not Thursday. Why are we talking about moms right now?"
Spelling, piano music.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Okay.
him.
I like piano music as well. That's what I use to study. So some really useful. I actually use Spotify's various playlists, music for concentration and peaceful piano.
Ooh, I've done peaceful piano. It's a good one.
I'm like total opposite. I use the acoustic EDM on Spotify to study too. So, that's.
I'll try that one.
Yeah. Be open-minded.
That's like cleaning the house music for me. Okay. Do we have another question, Jamie, or?
We're kind of running out of time, just as a disclaimer there, because it is 3:27 on my clock.
Okay. Can I ask one more?
Yes, you may ask another question. I will give you permission.
Okay. What was your, I'm an author moment?
Oh, probably when I held the book for the first time and it came in the mail in this big package. They sent me my author copies and they picked it up and saw that it was a real book. I think that was maybe it.
Cry. I hope you cried. You made me cry. So I hope you cried.
I maybe had a single tear come down.
And did you celebrate in any special way when you got the book or when it was published or?
I think I took the day off from work and just laid around in bed. Probably had champagne at 3:00. And then I had lunch, a little lunch gathering and things like that, little celebrations. But it was exciting for sure.
Oh, that's nice. I like hearing about people's author moments that live vicariously through them. I cannot talk right now.
So we wanted to say thank you for joining us, and for everybody who watched. We're going to tweet out links to where you can find Alexis's books on Goodreads and Amazon. Our next BAMFs Aloud's broadcast is next week, September 17th at the same time, and not exactly the same place. We'll tweet out a different link for you guys to watch. It's going to be a similar style to our first show where we talk about upcoming releases, and we hope that you guys join us. And
also, it's Jamie's birthday, so you have to watch because
I was really not saying that for a reason. That's why it's not.
I don't care. I'm celebrating.
So as well, if you want to chat with us more next week, there's the Loom chat for The Alchemists of Loom, since Dani and I are both vicars for that. It's at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, so a couple hours earlier than what this is. So last week we did our #1 release for the upcoming week, but this week, because we have Alexis with us, we thought we'd do her favorite 2016 release, but she has 2. So Dani's going to tell us about the first one, and I'm going to tell you about the second one.
Why are you making me say this name? Okay, the first one is Wink Poppy Midnight by April Genevieve something.
Oh, I know how to pronounce it. Hold on, I wrote it down.
I am glad that you wrote it down.
Too hulky.
That's not what I would have said.
Yeah.
I know, and I don't know why. I always am oh, I know how to pronounce it, and then I forget and I have to look it up again.
And that is a YA mystery with some magic thrown in for good measure.
And I will actually tell you about that more on Twitter. I reviewed it and I really liked it. And then I met April at an event. So I can talk to you all about that later if you want.
You should have known how to pronounce her name then.
Nope. So the second book that Alexis loved was The Smaller Evil by Stephanie Kuhn, which is a YA mystery. Okay, yeah, we're not good at last names. We get first names, and that's about it.
I can't even say my own last name properly. So,
so we'll tweet out about both of those books that Alexis loved, and you can check them out for yourself. But otherwise, we're very glad that you guys could join us, and another big thank you to Alexis for joining us as well.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a good time.
Yeah, it was so great to have you. So yeah, thank you for coming. And thank you for writing the book. Maybe not so much thank you for making me cry, but you know, to redo this whole face. Actually, no, in my pajamas. So no, didn't. Okay, so yeah, thank you, and thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you next week. Bye!